Professor Gregory Stanton is a research professor in genocide studies and prevention at George Mason University in Arlington, Virginia. He is globally recognized for his work in genocide studies and human rights advocacy. He is the founder and president of Genocide Watch and was director of the Cambodian Genocide Project and founder and chair of the International Campaign to End Genocide. Professor Stanton was a successful lawyer before he joined the State Department, where he drafted the United Nations Security Council resolutions that created the International Criminal Tribunal, or ICT, for Rwanda. Professor Stanton is a staunch critic of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which he refers to as a terrorist organization which can commit genocide in Ethiopia. A great friend of Ethiopia, I asked Professor Stanton why we should take threats from the Tigray People's Liberation Front here in the US quite seriously.
The Justice Department has never declared the Tplf a terrorist organization the way it should, but it is clearly it's the arm of a criminal government, which is the Tplf government in Ethiopia. The FBI needs to be aware, of course, anytime you have any inkling that there's a threat against anybody, any Ethiopian, if they are threatened, needs to report it to the FBI. But secondly, people who are in corporations like Facebook, for example, which has put literally a reward poster up on the in Facebook for your death, they should realize that incitement to commit a crime is itself a federal crime. In fact, we're going to pursue this to the end. We're going to pursue this all the way up to the top levels of Facebook. They are violating a federal criminal statute. And they say, oh, well, it's not up to us because, you know, we just are the medium by which this message is being conveyed. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, they're wrong. Any medium that conveys an incitement to commit a crime is itself committing a crime. Mm-hmm. And we will follow this up. Believe me, the people at Facebook should take down the advertisement calling on people to assassinate you, and they should do it immediately. And if they do not, they should be aware that they can be charged with a federal crime.
The allegation is that one of the ringleaders, his name is Gush Abera, was trying to coordinate this assassination plot in Boston. And the FBI is now aware of what they were planning, and in fact, as I mentioned earlier, they have foiled it. What can they do now? What can the FBI do against this kind of people, especially those Tplf spies that would like to violate the basic rights of Ethiopian exiles in the US?
Well, first of all, they can arrest them. If they have enough material evidence that a conspiracy to commit a crime was underway, this man Gunsh Abera and his accomplices can be arrested just for the conspiracy to commit murder. You don't have to actually go through with the murder to have an arrest. In other words, that's why we have conspiracy statutes on our books. The act itself, the murder, doesn't have to occur. You can arrest people before it ever gets that far. It sounds to me like the FBI would not have identified this man if they didn't have enough evidence already to arrest him. Once such a person is arrested, that person can actually be convicted of a crime in a federal court and can be sentenced to prison. After prison, the person would almost certainly be deported from the United States.
Apparently, the investigation is ongoing. They are gathering evidence, and they would like to collect more information and evidence against these people. One of the questions that needs to be raised is the fact that, as you very well know, everyone who lives in the United States has first right amendments, including me. The only thing that I have done is protesting against the former dictator Meles Zenawi in Washington D.C. that has seriously offended members of the Tplf and its spies. Can anyone violate the first right amendment of people who reside in the U.S. Without having any consequences?
No, I mean, the point is you have absolutely every right to have done what you did in Washington, D.C. when Meles Zenawi was in a public forum and you stood up and you hollered at him that he was a killer and so forth. That is absolutely your constitutional right to do. Now, they told you then to sit down and so forth, and I understand that you were then removed because they said this violated the public order of that particular meeting. But that doesn't matter. They can't arrest you for what you said. What you said was your right to say. And that's one of the beauties of the United States. We have perhaps the freest speech in the world here. But it is not free speech to conspire to commit a murder.
What should Ethiopian exiles do, to challenge Tplf spies living in the US? They are intimidating people, and now they would like to kill journalists and human rights activists in the US. What can ordinary Ethiopians do to challenge and in fact bring them to the court of law?
Well, my first advice to them is to report the specific threats to the FBI. I mean, straight to the FBI. The FBI has got the Tplf already in its sights. It knows very well that the Tplf is a terrorist organization, even if it can't get the Justice Department to declare it officially. It's actually the State Department that would, I think, make that decision anyway. But that's where they should go, straight to the FBI. Our FBI is a very strong and very reliable organization, and I have a lot of confidence in their ability to follow up on this. I've seen this over many, many years. When Iranians were spying on their own people in way back in the 1980s, when I was a lawyer in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I reported it to the FBI. I had found out who the Iranians were on the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee campus who were spying on the others. I reported it to the FBI, and the FBI basically investigated them and I think informed them that if they didn't stop this, that they were going to get charged and eventually deported from the United States. Well, the illegal surveillance of other Iranians stopped when we did that.
As you know, Tplf is a criminal enterprise oppressing Ethiopians back home and now even in exile. Can anyone become a member of the Tplf and work with the government, to commit crimes and support criminal enterprise in the United States? While, as you mentioned, the Tplf has been doing so many things against Ethiopians and the country. How should Ethiopians challenge these people? Apart from referring the case to FBI, do they need to get organized, to bring these people to the attention of the FBI, petition the FBI, or what's the best way to challenge them?
I think it is helpful to organize, to challenge absolutely an organized group like the Tplf. That's why I think we need organizations like Free and like the Solidarity Movement for a New Ethiopia and so forth. We need organization among Ethiopians to oppose the Tplf and to oppose groups like this in an organized way, so that people also don't feel alone in their opposition. They won't be intimidated by the Tplf, and they won't be scared into joining Tplf. As you say, probably the best antidote to a criminal organization is a legal organization, and that's exactly what you are.
Can anyone become a member of an organization, a criminal organization like the Tplf, while they claim political asylum in the US?
I doubt it. My own view is that if a person becomes a member of the Tplf, which would be the organization that would carry out the political persecution in Ethiopia, that person would lose his or her claim to political asylum in the United States, because the first thing the U.S. should do with such a person is send them back to Ethiopia, where they would not be under any political persecution at all, because they'd be a member of the party that would carry that persecution out. So, I think that it's very it's directly contradictory to a claim of political asylum to join the Tplf.
If the Tplf succeeds in carrying out assassination in the US, what will be the repercussion, the political and legal ramifications?
Well, I'm sure it will have ramifications. First of all, the FBI will try to hunt them down and arrest them and put them in prison. But secondly, I think it will have ramifications for the foreign policy of the United States towards Ethiopia, because the Tplf is still in charge of the government there. In fact, I was in Rwanda just a few weeks ago, and at the 25th anniversary of the ruling party there, the RPF, the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, who are both with the same, this Tplf government, were there in attendance. I didn't meet them. I didn't go up and try to shake their hands, I can tell you that. But I was shocked that actually the Rwandan government would even receive them. The thing that I would say is that our government should take a very hard look at the kind of assistance we're giving to Ethiopia, since it has a criminal regime in charge of the government.
There is a coalition of international and local human rights organizations, FREE, which is still in the process of being set up.
Yes.
How should FREE set up in terms of challenging, the criminal activities of the Tplf back home and in the United States and Europe?
Well, I think first of all, it should identify people that it knows are spies for the Tplf, and it should turn their names over along with their information to the FBI. Secondly, it should petition the State Department to declare the Tplf a terrorist organization. This is a very difficult thing to have to succeed in, because the State Department is careful not to try to alienate other governments, and since the Tplf is in charge of that government, they may be unwilling to declare this organization as a terrorist organization. But still, you should try.
The Tigray People's Liberation Front is a terrorist organization. It's found in the global terrorism database. It was labeled a terrorist organization until it came to power by the Homeland Security. What does this mean?
I think that's a very obvious sort of a realpolitik kind of a move by the United States. They simply said, okay, we have to get along with these people, even if we think they're terrorists. And so they just dropped any worries about that. And I think we should be, I say we because I've been also involved in, helping FREE.
Yes.
We should be demanding that terrorist status be restored, and that it be an absolute bar to any assistance to the state of Ethiopia, to the government of Ethiopia. What happens then is it doesn't cut off all aid to Ethiopians, because then aid needs to go through Ethiopian NGOs and so forth. So you can still keep up, assistance to hospitals and other kinds of projects, but it's all done to private NGOs, not through the government. I think the other thing that worries me the most is perhaps the assistance to the Tplf military, because the Ethiopian People's Defense Forces are actually an arm of the Tplf. They include more than, of course, Tplf people, but they're getting a lot of assistance from the United States, huge amounts. And in fact, their whole budget really depends on the U.S. And so cutting that off would be a huge goal for free. I mean, to try to get that military aid cut off. The reason why we give that military aid is because they're essentially our proxies in the various wars in Somalia, and have been effective fighting forces there. But now the Kenyans and others have taken over the role of the main UN peacekeepers there in Ethiopia. They don't need the Ethiopian Defense Forces anymore to counter al-Shabaab and other groups that want to take over Somalia.
Wonderful. What's your last message for Ethiopians facing persecution back home and even in exile?
My last word is don't ever give up hope, because Ethiopia has a strong history of fighting off foreign occupiers, including those who really represent the kind of terrorist organization that the Tplf represents. And eventually the Tplf will fall. And so those who are committing these kinds of acts of terror should also be aware that they are eventually going to be held accountable for their crimes. And we are keeping their names. So don't ever let any people be under the illusion that we will forget them. Thank you.
I thank you so much, Professor Stanton.
Thank you.
I posed a question to FBI spokesperson and special agent Greg Konkowicz in relation to Ethiopian government agents that harass, intimidate, and pose threats against the Ethiopian diaspora. He has the following to say.
Anybody who threatens people's lives because of their political views, or I don't even want to go that far, let me just say more generally, anyone who attempts to usurp someone's constitutionally protected rights of First Amendment, that's not the way America works. And
yes.
So we will take any information that you have that indicates people are acting as agents of a foreign government to repress people's First Amendment rights here in America.
Okay. Now, one last question. As a reporter, what steps the FBI takes, to protect people from exercising their freedom in the U.S.? When some gangs and foreign government agents threaten the lives of dissidents in the U.S.
Well, let me say this: allegations of violations of an individual's civil rights and the rights outlined in the Constitution are taken seriously by the FBI, and we take all steps to review those allegations with respect to whether or not they violate federal statutes. So the bottom line is, though, all allegations are taken seriously by the FBI.
Okay, when people face this kind of situation, what should they do? Do they have to contact you, the FBI, or the police? How do they report this kind of cases?
Anyone, and this is especially important for individuals who are new to the United States. Anyone who believes that their civil rights or their constitutional rights have been violated, they should contact the FBI. And they should know that contacting the FBI, can be dealt with anonymously, and their allegations will be taken seriously. And it's a top priority of the FBI to ensure that all people's civil rights and constitutional rights are not infringed on.
Okay, that's wonderful.